Martha.
Sorry.
And 3 sons, Andrew, James, and Thomas.
You got it?
He's a graduate of
Jackson College of
Jackson
Ministry.
College of Ministries, Nichols College, and Bentley University. Please welcome Mark Stanhope.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see everyone. When I guess I'm not speaking yet. I can have a window set up. Yeah. So when I first heard that they needed a speaker, I signed up and then realized that I was very busy. So I kind of put this together this morning, kind of relying on my theological background here. And I want to talk about the first vision board. And this story circles around Jacob, Leah, Rachel, and Uncle Laban, found in Genesis chapter 30. If anyone knows the story about Jacob, earlier in the Genesis record, he deceived his father Isaac, together with his mother Rebekah. And it was custom at that time, whoever got the first birthright in the family would get the vast majority of wealth. So when Isaac called Esau up and told Esau, he said, "Hey, I want you to go out and get me some game and, present it before me, and after I eat, I'll bless you." Rebekah took Jacob while Esau was out hunting and said, "Let's take this lamb," and they made it up and tried to, with all the herbs, and tried to make it taste like wild game. And Esau was a hairy fella, he had hairy arms, and Jacob wasn't. So Rebekah wisely put some skin fur from the sheep on his arms. And when he went up before Isaac, excuse me, I'm getting the names good. Isaac, his father, Isaac said, "Come near me." And he says, "It kind of sounds a little like Jacob." But he felt his arms and he blessed them. And once the blessing was given, it couldn't be retracted. So when Esau came back, he was irate. Isaac said, "Hey, I need to send Jacob away because Esau's going to kill him. He's a great hunter, he's a great fighter." So he sends him to his uncle Laban's house. And so when he gets to, as he travels to Padan, he comes to a well and he sees the shepherds watering their flocks. And he sees this beautiful woman coming up. And his eyes immediately catches, and Rachel comes up, and he finds out that, Rachel is his cousin. And he immediately falls in love with her. And he says, he feeds her flocks for her, waters her flocks for her, excuse me. And then they go to see Uncle Laban, and Uncle Laban hugs him and says, "Yeah, you look like, one of my kin." He says, "Why don't you stay here and work for me?" He says, "What would you like for wages?" He says, "I want your daughter Rachel." So they agree, they make a contract, but he has to work 7 years before he gets Rachel. So then the party comes, and it's evening, and they're all drinking. And so it was custom then that the bride and groom would go in a tent. Everybody would sit around and listen for the consummation. That's the way it happened back in biblical times. And yes, and so when Jacob wakes up in the morning, he's not laying with Rachel, he's laying with her older sister Leah. And she was not quite as cute. And he was like irate. He goes to his Uncle Laban, he says, "Damn it," he says, "I worked all these years for Rachel and you gave me Leah." He says, "Hey, it's custom here that we don't give away the youngest daughter before we give away the oldest daughter." So they agree that he could have Rachel too, but he'd have to work another 7 years. But together with that, they made a contract. And that is, he says, when you're done after this 7 years, you can leave with all the spotted, speckled, striped sheep, and I'll keep all the solid ones. So they signed the contract, but Laban's wise. He sends his sons out and says, "Take all the spotted, speckled, striped sheep and separate them, and only give Jacob the solid ones." So how's Jacob going to do this, right? So Jacob creates the first vision board that we know in the history of mankind. He takes popular almond and chestnut trees, and he takes the bark off them and hangs them before the drinking troughs, so that when the sheep came up, they would see these spotted, speckled, and striped sheep. Branches, excuse me. And so the goats, the sheep, they would come and they'd see this. But he would also take out the weak ones, and he wouldn't let them feed before these spotted, speckled, striped branches. So, you know, scientifically we'd say, hey, this is impossible, but his faith and desire in God, God made it happen. So he was, you know, a lot of the sheep's offspring and goat's offspring were these striped and speckled, and so Jacob became very wealthy because of it. You know, how does this all tie together? So when I was about 40 pounds heavier, my wife and I, my wife is from South Korea, we started watching Korean drama. And I'm looking at all these Korean men and I'm saying, man, how are they so skinny? You know, I wish I was that skinny. You know, that's what I used to look like in my 20s, you know what I mean? So we continued to watch Korean drama, and together with that, I started to study nutrition, and then I joined a health certification program because I decided to become, to become more healthy and to get my health back. And I continued to watch Korean drama. And before you know it, you know, the Korean drama became my vision board. The Korean drama became, you know, I desired to be like one of those Korean men and get my body back. And so the moral of the story is, if, you know, and I'm sure many of us have vision boards. I have one in my office. That if you have a vision board and you mix it with faith and you mix it with desire, Paulo Coelho in his classical book, The Alchemist, the most important sentence in the whole book is that if you desire something strong enough, the whole universe will conspire to get you what you want. So in essence, I desired to be skinny. I desired to get my health back. You know, my HDL was low, my LDL was high, my glucose was high, and I put all that together, and when I went back to the doctors 3 months ago, the doctor said, hey, what happened? You know, they didn't know if I was suffering from, you know, I couldn't eat or something. I lost 30 pounds in 3 months. And so I told the doctor my story, and the doctor said, keep doing what you're doing. And I never opened the prescription. They gave me a prescription for simvastatin, which lowers your, cholesterol and helps your HDL, you know, your good cholesterol to raise up. My HDL was like in the 30s, which isn't good. It's supposed to be between 40 and 60. And when I went back 3 months later, I was 45. I went up 10 points. I think now I'm probably 50-something. My pulse rate is usually in the high 50s, which usually is only attributable to athletes. But anyways, so the moral of the story is, the first vision board, if it worked for the animals, it can work for you.